Good day, grade 7 students. It is indeed a great and wonderful day, isn't it? I am teacher Ashel and I will be your learning buddy in this video lesson. I am really excited of being with you today. Come and join me in this day full of learning, only here at Learn with Teacher Ashel. I hope that you are doing great today. It is really important to be sure that you are always practicing the basic safety routines during this pandemic. Make sure that you have your alcohol with you and sanitize every now and then. Before we start our day, let me give you some reminders. 1. Prepare and watch carefully the video lesson. 2. Stay on a quiet place to avoid disruptions. 3. Have your modules with you while watching the video lesson. And lastly, be honest while watching and answering the modules. I believe that you are now ready. Let us now have our opening prayer. Our loving and generous God, we praise and thank you for the bountiful blessings you have given us. Thank you for giving us a mind that can know and a heart that can love. Thank you for giving us the chance to continue learning amidst the pandemic that had caused a lot of changes in our lives. We are sorry for the times we have failed you. We humbly ask for your forgiveness. Father, help us to stay focused on our studies. When learning becomes difficult, grant us the gift of courage and enthusiasm. Grant us the grace to use our knowledge in making a difference into the lives of the people around us. All this we pray in your mighty name. Amen. Let us now have your attendance. For your attendance, you will be monitored by means of a Google Form link that will be sent to your group chat on Facebook Messenger. This link is for those who have access on the internet, while for those who doesn't have access, they will also be monitored via phone call or text message. Today, my dear grade 7 students, you are going to learn on how to identify the distinguishing features of poems and short stories. Each of you are expected to, first, identify the distinguishing features of poems and short stories. And lastly, gain love and appreciation of literature. During your younger years, you probably heard different poems and short stories told by your elders or in school. If you did, you can surely respond to these questions. What is literature? What are the common literary types you know? How do they represent our experiences and human lives? Are you excited to know more about it? Me too! Let's go! As a recap, literature refers to written creative work, particularly those which have a high and enduring value. It is known for its form in which the message is presented or communicated and its content. But before we start the activities in this lesson, let me remind you about the instructions that I will be giving. For your classmates under modular distance learning, I will be giving them separate instructions and they will be tasked also to read and accomplish activities using their printed modules. Same with students under online learning and blended learning, I will also give you a separate instruction to help you accomplish the activities that we will be having along with this video lesson. You can also ask for the guidance of your parents. If you are still confused of what to do, you can also send me a text message, call, or even chat me on our Facebook group chat if you have questions about our topic today. Are you excited? Me too! Let us now proceed. To get started, I would like you to find the missing letters to complete the phrase. Then, write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. Here is the mystery phrase. Having a hard time? Here are the clues to help you guess it correctly. 1. They refer to the pieces of writing like novels, short stories, and scripts. Another clue, these kinds of writing contain the kind of ordinary language heard in everyday speech, while the others include songs, lyrics, and various literary forms and theatrical dialogues containing poetic qualities like iambic pentameter. What do you think is the answer? Very good! It is prose and poetry. Fantastic! You are amazing! I believe we can now move on. Let us now proceed. Let us identify what literature is by opening each pages of this magical book. What is literature? Literature is a body of written works. It has traditionally been applied to those imaginative works of poetry and prose distinguished by the intentions of their authors and the perceived aesthetic excellence of their execution. Literature is creative writing in one form or another. Both forms, the prose and poetry, present a point to an audience, and both take some skill. Additionally, both prose and poetry use descriptive language like literary devices. To see how each type is unique, it's helpful to break them down into their definitions and examples. Let us find out more about it on our knowledge tablet. Let us first have the definition of prose. What is prose? In simplest terms, prose is everyday writing. It covers all the different types of writing you read daily, from blogs to articles to novels. Prose might be a fictional novel, taking you away to a far-off planet, or it could be a non-fictional news article covering the latest natural disaster. It can also be a verbal story. Within prose, the writing structure includes sentences, paragraphs, and chapters. Additional qualities woven within the text include theme, mood, point of view, plot, setting, etc. There are 4 types of prose. 1. Fictional prose. This takes you away to a made-up world or story. 2. Non-fictional prose. This is factual accounts of events. 3. Heroic prose. These includes oral and written traditions like fables and legends. And lastly, poetic prose. This is a writing with poetic qualities, such as heightened emotions and imagery, which is not written in verse. The short story is probably one of the most popular forms of prose. It is a short word of fiction. Fiction, as you know, is prose writing about imagined events and characters. Prose writing differs from poetry in that it does not depend on verses, meters, or rhymes for its organization and presentation. Novels are another example of fictional prose and are much longer than short stories. Some short stories, however, can be quite long. If a short story is a long one, say 50 to 100 pages, we call it a novella. Now, I have a question. What makes famous authors such remarkable short story writers? Yes, correct. They are true masters at combining the 5 elements that go into every great short story. Can you guess what are they? Let us have the first element. Character. A character is a person or sometimes even an animal who takes part in the action of a short story or another literary work, like Romeo and Juliet, Cinderella, or even Tom and Jerry. Second, we have setting. The setting of a short story is the time and place in which it happens. Authors often use descriptions of landscape, scenery, buildings, seasons, or weather to provide a strong sense of setting. It can be a farm, house, or even in a magical forest. Third, we have plot. A plot is a series of events and characters' action that relate to the central conflict. Fourth, we have conflict. The conflict is a struggle between 2 people or things in a short story. The main character is usually on one side of the central conflict. On the other side, the main character may struggle against another important character, against the forces of nature, against society, even against something inside himself or herself, like feelings, emotions, or illness. Lastly, we have theme. The theme is the central idea or belief in a short story. I guess you are now ready to learn about poetry. Let us continue. What is poetry? While prose is writing, poetry adds artistic style to writing. Poetry is all about vivid imagery and rhythm. It works to make you feel something or drive a point of home. Poetry writers select their structure, rhyme scheme, pattern, and words with the purpose of arousing emotion. Rather than sentences and paragraphs, poetry uses lines, stanzas, verses, meter, stress, patterns, and rhythm. It offers an artistic way to present emotions and events. Poetry comes in several different forms, but the common types of poetry include sonnets, which is a lyrical poetry with a 14-line arrangement, haiku, which is a traditional Japanese poetry, acrostic, which mixes letters and phrases, free verse, which has no set meter, epic, from oral traditions. We have also rhymed, which creates specific rhyme patterns, and lastly, descriptive, which uses descriptive language to express a message. An important method of analyzing a poem is to look at the stanza structure or style of a poem. Generally speaking, structures has to do with the overall organization of lines or the conventional patterns of sound. What do we mean by stanzas and its structure or form? Stanzas are a series of lines grouped together and separated by an empty line from other stanzas. They are the equivalent of a paragraph in an essay. Here are the 3 most common types of poems according to form. 1. Lyric poetry. This is any poem with one speaker, not necessarily the poet, who expresses strong thoughts and feelings. 2. Narrative poem. It tells a story and its structures resembles the plotline of a story. For example, the introduction of conflict and characters, the rising action, climax, and the denouement. 3. Descriptive poem. It describes the world that surrounds the speaker. It uses elaborate imagery and adjectives. While emotional, it is more outward focused than lyric poetry, which is more personal and introspective. In a sense, Almost all poems, whether they have consistent patterns of sound or structure or are free verse, are in one of the three categories. The following are the subtypes of the three styles that we have mentioned a while ago. 1. We have the ode. It is usually a lyric poem of moderate length with a serious subject, an elevated style, and an elaborate stanza pattern. 2. Elegy. It is a lyric poem that mourns the dead. It has no metric or stanzaic pattern, but it usually begins by reminiscing about the dead person, then laments the reason for the death, and then resolves the grief by concluding that deaths lead to immortality. 3. Sonnets. It is a lyric poem consisting of 14 lines, and in the English version, it is usually written in iambic pentameter. 4. Ballad. It is a narrative poem that has a musical rhythm and can be sung. A ballad is usually organized into quatrains or cinquains, which has a simple rhythm structure and tells the tales of ordinary people. 5. We have epic. It is a long narrative poem in elevated style recounting the deeds of a legendary or historical hero. Wow! I am happy that you are really focused on our discussion. I'm really proud of you. Now, let us proceed to the sound patterns in poetry. There are three other elements of poetry, which are rhyme scheme, meter, and word sounds. These are sometimes collectively called sound play because they take advantage of the performative spoken nature of poetry. When we talk about word sounds in poetry, these are 1. Alliteration. The repetition of initial sounds on the same line or stanza. Example, Big Bad Bob bounced bravely. 2. Assonance. The repetition of vowel sounds, which is anywhere in the middle or end of a line or stanza. Example, tilting at windmills. 3. Consonants. The repetition of consonant sounds, which is anywhere in the middle or end of a line or stanza. For example, and all the air a solemn stillness holds. 4. Onomatopoeia. Words that sound like that which they describe. Boom, crash, pow, quack, moo, caress. 5. Repetition. The repetition of entire lines or phrases to emphasize key thematic ideas. 6. Parallel structure. It is a form of repetition where the order of verbs and nouns is repeated. It may involve exact words, but it more importantly repeats sentence structure. For example, I came, I saw, I conquered. Now let's talk about rhyme. Rhyme is the repetition of similar sound. In poetry, the most common kind of rhyme is the end rhyme, which occurs at the end of two or more lines. It is usually identified with lowercase letters, and a new letter is used to identify each new end sound. Take a look at the rhyme scheme for the following poem. I saw a fairy in the wood. He was dressed all in green. He drew his sword while I stood. I realized I'd be seen. The rhyme scene of the poem is AB, AB. And now, for the last one, we have rhythm and meter. Meter is a unit of rhythm in poetry, the pattern of beats. It is also called a foot. Each foot has a certain number of syllables in it, usually 2 or 3 syllables. The difference in types of meter is which syllables are accented or stressed and which are not. There are other elements of poetry. This includes 1. Theme, which is the message of the poem. 2. We have symbolism, which are the symbols that convey ideas. And 3. Imagery, which are the devices used for readers to create an image that encompasses the 5 senses. With the discussion we had a while ago, let us now have the activities that will enrich your knowledge about our lesson. I invited the game show host to help me find out your understanding about our topic. This is by means of a game. Are you excited? Me too. Let's go! Hello there! Do you want to be the banker of knowledge? Wow, that's the spirit, students! For this game, to be the banker of knowledge, let's first read together the poem entitled God Said, I Made a Man by Jose Garcia Villa. Afterwards, you are going to analyze the poem and answer the questions on the briefcases. Write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. Let us now read the poem. God Said, I Made a Man by Jose Garcia Villa. God said, I made a man out of clay, but so bright he spun himself to brightest day, till he was all shining gold, and oh, he was handsome to behold. But in his hands held he a bow, aimed at me who created him. And I said, O then thou murder me, how in thy fountainhead? Then spoke he the man of gold, I will not murder thee, I do but measure thee. Hold thy peace, and this I did, but I was curious of this so regal head. Give thy name, Sir Genius. It is a beautiful poem, isn't it? Now, try answering the following questions inside these briefcases. Let us start. 1. What is the poem all about? A. Man's evilness. B. Equality of man and God. C. Beauty of God's creation. D. How a beautiful creature made by God turned into something indifferently. If your answer is D, you got it right. 2. What attribute of God is being described in the poem? A. Loving. B. Merciful. C. Omnipotent. D. Revengeful. If your answer is C, you are correct. 3. How did God react to the ingratitude of His creations? A. Angry. B. Happy. C. Sad. D. Uncertain. If your answer is A. Angry, you are correct. I'm sorry, banker, but these kids are really good. Let us now have the next one. 4. What is the message of the poem? A. God should be our strength. B. We should always rely on God. C. We should always seek God's help. D. We should always be thankful to God and the Creator. If your answer is D, you got it right again. 5. What is the theme? A. Man's limitations. B. God's unending power. C. Equality of man with God. D. Ungratefulness of men towards their Creator. If your answer is C, you got it right. Amazing grade 7 students! You were able to beat the banker of knowledge. Congratulations! I think the next game will be easier for you. Let us try this one. For this game, identify the idea being referred to in the following statements. Choose your answers from the word box. Each correct answer on this game will be equivalent to a corresponding point, so you better think carefully. Write your answers on a separate sheet of paper. It is a form of literature which refers to the different types of writing you read daily, from blogs to articles to novels. The answer is prose and poetry. 2. It is prose writing about imagined events and characters. The answer is fiction. 3. Story element, which refers to the time and place when the story happened. The answer is setting. 4. It refers to the series of events and character actions that relate to the central conflict. The answer is plot. 5. It involves the struggle between two people or things in a short story from which the characters try to overcome. The answer is conflict. 6. They refer to the series of lines grouped together and are equivalent to a paragraph in an essay. The answer is stanzas. 7. It tells a story. Its structure resembles the plotline of a story, for example, the introduction of conflict and characters, rising action, climax, and the denouement. The answer is narrative poem. 8. It is the repetition of similar sounds in poetry. The answer is rhyme. 9. It refers to the repetition of initial sounds on the same line or stanza. The answer is alliteration. 10. It is the unit of rhythm in poetry. The answer is meter. 'Wow, you are really amazing. Congratulations! You were able to beat the banker and you were able to answer the questions which are given to you. Fantastic! You nailed it! Before we proceed on your assessment, let us now have our generalization on this video lesson. Understanding the distinguishing features and elements of poetry and prose, such as short story, will help you develop a greater love and appreciation for literature. We are now in the last part of this video lesson, and I believe that you are very ready for your final task. Again, prepare your paper and pen because you are going to use them in answering this activity. Are you ready? Here is what you're going to do. Read and analyze the following excerpts from poems and short stories. Then, write your answers on your answer sheets. Here is the activity. You may now start. Are you done? Let us now check your answers. Here are the answers. Congratulations! I knew you will be able to make it this far. I am really proud of you. You are amazing. More activities for more learning. For your additional activity to strengthen what you have learned today, here is what you're going to do. This will serve as your assignment. Here is the activity. Recall a poem or a short story you really love. Then, identify the distinguishing features it contains that makes it your favorite poem or short story. I would like you to attach the copy of the literary work or the link of the literary source that you chose. Take note that for those who are under online learning, you can send a copy of your work on your Facebook group chat. Be sure to use your full name and section as the file name of your work. For those who are under modular and blended learning, make sure to double-check your work before asking your parents to submit them during the scheduled retrieval of modules and answer sheets. Wow, this was really a fruitful day, isn't it? I hope that you will not forget all of the things that you have learned from this video lesson. Thank you very much, my dear grade 7 students, for watching our fun and very informative video lesson today. I am really happy to be with you in this day full of learning. Again, I am Teacher Ashel saying, believe in yourself and strive for your dreams. See you again next time on our fun learning journey on our next video lesson, only here at Learn with Teacher Ashel. Goodbye!